I made $52,650 in 1 hour trading platinum futures, and I'm going to break down this trade in this video. Okay, so how did I make 50K in an hour? First of all, I need to disclose that this was a paper trade, meaning that it is not real money. After doing around $8,000 a month late last year, my goal for 2026 was to do 50,000 a month in trading profits. That quickly became $50,000 per trade. I had multiple 50K trades in the month of February, and this was just me testing my same strategy with basically just more leverage. Higher contracts. So instead of trading 1 to 2 contracts, I was going in with 15, 20 contracts, and the results were really good. My tests came out positive, and I ended up netting 100K in just a short month of February. So this trade took place on February 1st, and that was a Sunday. Why I got into this trade. So here is a screenshot. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. As we can see, this is February 1st. I decided to take this trade. It was a Sunday. It was market open, which can be a little bit dicey, but I felt good enough about this to take the trade pretty much right at market open. I entered at around 320 and I exited the trade at 420. So this screenshot is better than looking at the charts as they are now, because since then I have moved some of my trend lines and support and resistance lines around. So if we look at the screenshot from the day, we can see I have this orange. This is a support line right here. So why is this orange? Well, recently I decided to make any support or resistance line, horizontal line that is like a historical support or resistance line orange. Usually I just make them yellow, but this is kind of to tell me in present day that, hey, this is a really important support or resistance line, and the price is likely to respect that. And in this case, wouldn't you know it, it really did. It totally bounced right off. It's kind of hard to see, but we can see that it kind of wicked right off a little bit right here at 3. This is the 5 minutes, so I was somewhere around 310 or so, or 315. So once it hit that level, I had my alert. So these dotted lines are my alerts. I had my alert going. So I was watching, and I noticed the next candle was this really big green candle, and it shot all the way up to here. You can kind of see it behind all these numbers. It shot all the way up, and because I'm going to switch over here. So now we're looking at the 1 hour time frame, and we can see this blue arrow here is the time that I entered the trade. We had just come off of a really big sell-off in platinum in late January, as you can see here. I know I have a lot of these yellow and orange support and resistance lines. I am what I would consider a trend line trader, but I also trade using support and resistance, as we can see by this chaos. It's a really, really simple method. I don't really use any other technicals, but as you can see, it doesn't look so simple, and any kind of simple method in trading is really not that simple, because there are a million other factors going in, like when do you enter, when do you exit, etc., etc. So why did I enter here? So we'd just seen this big sell-off, and on Friday, at the end of the trading week, we saw a little bit of a bounce. And I also saw that it was bouncing off of this, what I call a historic support line. So it was pretty safe to assume that we were going to get a little bit of a bounce here. And on top of that, moving back over to my screenshot from the day, we had this green line here, and you can see it's kind of angled. That line I've since moved down to this level right here, but this green line is a long-term trend line. So because we were kind of hovering around it and we ended up kind of bouncing off of it, that was also double confirmation that it would be a good idea to go long on this move. Double confirmation meaning we had it respect the support line, and it also is respecting the long-term trend line. On top of it, we had this big sell-off, so at some point, you know, we're probably bound for a rebound. So anyway, I felt pretty good about entering there. So I immediately ended up in some drawdown, but then, you know, after probably, I don't know, 30 minutes or so here, by 4 p.m., we were back in the green and it was going up. Now I'm going to move over to the video so we can see in real time what was going on here. Okay, so right here I'm moving my stop loss up into profit, and that's just in case this is going to just shoot right back down. You never know. It happens all the time, especially in these Asian market sessions when it's a bit slower. So that would be the afternoon my time. There's some pretty big swings sometimes out of nowhere because the volume is generally lower. So I'm moving my stop loss up to ensure that I'm not going to lose out on a whole bunch of profit. Of course, the difference between 30,000 in profit and 52,500 feels pretty significant, but you know, at least I'm not gonna lose and get back into the red. It's all about just capturing like a small bite of the move, because it's really probably not gonna happen that you're gonna capture the whole move. There's always gonna be money left on the table, and that's just a part of trading. My take profit is at 52,500. If we jump back over to our charts here, we can see why I put my take profit there. Because and actually these little green lines here I put just to show you where I entered and where I exited the trade. So my take profit was around 2151.8, and that's because these two previous 1 hour candles had stopped there. They had gotten some resistance there. So I like to just really minimize my drawdown as much as possible and just capture a bite of the move. And a lot of times I'll be shooting for the next resistance line. So in this case, it would have been this orange line right here. But a lot of the time, especially on lower volume days, I really just want to capture the first big move, the first big spike in volume, and so I'll kind of set it a little bit lower. So this was my target right here. We saw previous resistance here, so it's likely going to pause there and then kind of turn around. And as we can see in this candle with the red arrow above it, I know it's hard to see, I have so many lines going on. We can see in this candle here, which is the candle that I exited on, that my take profit was hit on, that we didn't end up going much higher. It wicked off and then it drained right back down, and then it just ended up going short and going. I would have been in crazy drawdown if I kept this a trade, because it just kept going and going and going. It then popped back up and eventually hit, which would have been my next target, which is this orange line right here. But I'm not trying to wait around in a trade in that much drawdown. I mean, it probably would have been, I mean, I don't know how much it would have been. It would have been a lot. Probably at least, what, 100,000 or more in drawdown? No, can't do that. So it's all about timing your entries and timing your exits, right? So I captured a little bit of that move, and I'm super happy with that. Especially when that little bit of a move in 1 hour was $52,000. So again, let's go back to seeing the live. I also tend to keep my stop loss a few ticks below that resistance line, historical resistance line, because a lot of times it's gonna hit like just below it if you're going long. And the worst thing ever is when you just set your take profit a little bit too high and it hits right below, and then it immediately drains right down, and you literally can lose all of your profits. That's happened to me so many times. So I shave a little bit off on my take profits, depending on the trade, sometimes more, sometimes less, because it generally will not hit. And also, you want to make sure that that order is going through, especially with more contracts. In my early days of learning how to trade and being a trendline trader, I was always frustrated because I could never trade consolidation when the market is going sideways. It's not trending up or down, it's just low volume and it's just going this way. I like to think of it, it reminds me of like a heart monitor that's just like zigzagging up and down. It's also called chop. It's very choppy and you can get chopped out, which is never fun when it goes up and then it goes down and it goes up and down. It's not going anyway. That would always annoy me, that I would days, sometimes weeks of not being able to trade because of consolidation, which is always going to happen and definitely happens in platinum. And so I've been able to get somewhat good at trading consolidation. I can't trade anyway all consolidation because sometimes it's just there's no rhyme or reason. But a lot of times with platinum, if it's several days, weeks of consolidation, it's often respecting those support and resistance lines and kind of bouncing around between the two. And that's kind of what we see here with this trade. Even though I popped out of the trade before it hit that top resistance line, it did eventually hit that. And a lot of times you'll just see it ping pong between support and resistance lines, which can be actually really fun to trade. I just set my alerts near those support and resistance lines, and you can kind of buy and then sell and then buy and then sell. So what else do I want to share about this here trade? So yeah, that was my $52,650 trade. First trade of the month of February 2026. And it kind of blew my expectations, my goal of $50,000 a month out of the water. I ended up having some more of those 50K trades. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this. I don't know what else to say about this trade, really. I love trading platinum. Let me know if you have any questions or thoughts in the comments. I'm excited to continue sharing my February trades. It was a really fun month to test this new higher leverage. Yeah, so look out for some more videos of my February trades where I had net profit of 180K. So soon to come. All right, see ya.